Hello everyone, this is Ubed Khan and you are watching Elite Edu World. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates of our channel, and please do share with your friends, relatives, and especially for students, because our channel having a lot of educational videos. Okay, so let's move towards today's topic. Once again I welcome all the students in our today's session, and today we are going to just talk about the chapter that is microorganism that we have already started, and we have covered so many points for this chapter. So as we have seen the lot of points in our previous lectures, so what we have discussed in our previous lecture, just I will take in short, that we have seen what is microorganism first of all. So the tiny organism which is cannot be seen by our naked eyes, that is why we have to use microscope. So that is why it is called microorganisms. We cannot see it seen by our naked eyes, right? Now we have discussed so many points regarding whether the microorganism friend or foe, right? So whether the microorganism that are friend means they are useful in our so many industries, that is beneficial for us, or then again we have started to see the microorganism which is harmful for us. So these all the points we will discuss. So we have seen so many activities also. Then we have seen how we can be divide the microorganism. So basically this 5 types we have seen here. On this 5 types we can be divide the microorganism, like bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae, and the separate one is virus, because virus is little bit different in all these groups because it is just link between the living and non-living organism, right? It is just only multiply inside the host body, so that is why we have kept separate. Then we have seen diagrams of this bacteria, like spiral or spiral bacteria. Then we have seen rod shaped bacteria. This on the basis of their shape it is having the name. Then we have seen chlamydomonas, spirogyra. These are come under the algae. Then in the protozoa we have seen the example of amoeba and paramecium, and in the fungi examples we have seen that braid mold, it is growing on a braid. We have seen so many times that greenish color, this patch will grow on a braid if you are keeping moist braid and a room temperature. Then we have seen penicillium and aspergillus. These are the example of fungi. So these figures we have seen already in a previous lecture. This is figure which is showing the structure for virus, and then we have seen that is what are the microorganisms which is friendly for human beings, like in soil, that is some organisms are there, rhizobium organisms which can be increase the fertility of the soil, right? So that we have seen already. Then we have seen where the microorganisms are living actually. So in everywhere the microorganisms are living in around us, whenever they are getting a favorable temperature and required whatever the requirement are there, humidity, temperature and air, so they will just start growing, and food. So that is why we have seen examples of the microorganisms that is beneficial for us. So we have seen here the example of that lactobacillus. That lactobacillus is used in making the curd, especially in curd industry. So when the lactobacillus is growing into the milk, it is just utilizing the sugar from the milk and changing into the lactic acid. So it's turn all the textures and qualities of the milk, and it will just convert into the curd. So that is why lactobacillus we have seen. Then we have seen the example of yeast. Yeast normally we are using in a bread industries, right? To just while the microorganisms or yeast we are just adding into the flour. So while it is getting the water and moisture, it just start growing and start multiplying. So when it is multiplying, it is just doing respiration, and it is doing anaerobic respiration, and finally it is just releasing carbon dioxide gas also. So when carbon dioxide gas will release from the dough, it will just rise up the dough shape and amount. It is before, when you are keeping, it is having a less amount. When it is producing the gas carbon dioxide, it is look fluffy. That is why we are using the yeast into the bakery, because we need our bakery product fluffy when we are seeing the bread, and so it is looked fluffy. So that how it is made fluffy, because the carbon dioxide that is produced by this bacteria will just remove from this holes, and it is giving the fluffy structure to the bread. Then again we have seen the example of same yeast into the wine and beer industry for producing the alcohol or acetic acid, and vinegar is also we have seen. So this all will happen with the yeast only, because it is when it is doing anaerobic respiration, it is releasing carbon dioxide and it is just releasing lactic acid, alcohol also. So with the help of this alcohol, it is just utilizing into the production of alcohol industry, while we are adding this yeast into the juices, so that it is using the glucose or sugar from this juice and converting into alcohol. So that is why it is also useful into the wine and beer industry to produce the alcohol, right. Then we have seen some examples of the microorganisms which is useful in a medicinal use of microorganism, and in that we have seen so many examples which can be come into the category of bacteria. So we have seen the example of fungi, streptomycin, tetracycline and erythromycin. So these are the examples which will come under the antibiotics, which can be say this is the antibiotics which is useful in so many types of infections. So this is also one of the use of the microorganisms which is also useful into the making antibiotics, right. And again we have seen and vaccination or vaccine, how the vaccine is produced. So again the microorganisms is also helpful into the making of vaccine, right. So in the vaccine production is also antibiotics or vaccine production, the microorganisms again that is utilizeful. And what is vaccine actually? This is a medicine which is come under the preventive medicine, right. So whenever our body, we want to make our body ready to fight against some disease causing germs, so we are just taking the vaccines and we are preparing our body to fight against several diseases. Like polio, we are taking the polio vaccines, we are giving polio vaccines to the small child, as it is he is not having any kind of like that disease, but we are making the body of that child, we are preparing the body of that child to fight against that bacteria or the disease causing germs. So that is why we are using this vaccines, and it is actually the preventive, and we are just adding inactive or weak germs of the same disease, which is the germs which is causing by the disease, and that is why we are making our body ready to fight against that kind of the diseases, right. Then we have seen increasing soil fertility. So as microorganisms can also helpful into increase the soil fertility, and how it can be increase the soil fertility, we have seen the example like rhizobium bacter, which is living into the leguminous plants or root nodules of the leguminous plant. In that root nodule the microorganism will grow, and it is taking the food and shelter from the plant, and it is giving in back, that is it's fixing the nitrogen, right. So in some areas where the nitrogen is less into the soil, so it is present into the air, but the plant cannot be take the nitrogen directly from the air. So here the microorganism will help to the plant to absorb the atmospheric, that is absorbing the atmospheric nitrogen, fixing into the soluble nitrogen like nitrites and nitrates in the form, and then plant can be take it with the water, because it is soluble into the water. So that is why it is increasing the soil fertility, right. And what is meant by the fertility? The capacity of the soil or the things which is required to grow more and more plants. So that is why if the soil fertility is good, so plant can be grow very well, or if the fertility of the soil is low, it is called infertility, the plant cannot be grow very well. So to enrich this nutrients or this nitrogen especially, so these microorganisms can be useful, right. Then commonly called biological nitrogen fixer we have seen. This is the figure we have seen for nitrogen fixing blue green algae. So rhizobium bacter and blue green algae can be useful to just fix the nitrogen, right. Cleaning the environment, we have seen some examples of microorganisms which is called decomposers. And why it is called cleaning? Because whenever some animal or plant will die, this kind of microorganisms, there can be degrade the organism or plant. So when they are degrading the organisms, dead organisms or plant, so it is helping into just cleaning the environment, because if these organisms are not doing this work, so that dead and decaying body of the plant and animal can be stay on the land for a long time, so it can be make the pollution. So that is why this decomposers can decompose the dead organisms or plant, and just also adding the nutrients from this all the plant and animal into the soil, so it can be also enriching the soil nutrients, and it can be again useful into the disposal, like biodegradable, whatever the means we are just normally discussing about the biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste. So what is biodegradable waste? This microorganisms can be work on it and it can be decomposed to the waste. So that is why with the help of this microorganisms only it is possible the biodegradable waste can be degraded, right, and it can be finished from the environment, and it is also helping into the enriching the soil fertility. So that is also possible because of microorganisms only. If the microorganisms will not there, so the waste, biodegradable waste also cannot be degraded. So this is also one of the advantage. So like this we have discussed that microorganisms are good, some microorganisms are beneficial for the our environment or for us. Then we have seen the harmful microorganisms. Like as we have seen in one side, the microorganisms are helpful for the human beings or for us. So in some other means sense, which microorganisms are there, several microorganisms which is harmful for the for human beings or for environment. So we have seen the name which is given pathogens. So pathogens is the microorganisms only, but they are harmful for the plant and animal. They are causing disease. So it is called disease causing microorganisms. The name is given pathogens. So pathogen is the organism which is making problems or causing disease to plant and animal. So that is why it is come under the category of pathogen, right. Then it is also can be spoiled to the some microorganisms can spoil to clothing, leather, and we have seen study so many harmful activities which can be done by microorganisms. So first of all we have seen the disease causing microorganisms in human. That is very dangerous because it is causing the disease inside the human beings, as we have seen or we have discussed in our previous chapters or lectures. That is, it is divided into communicable disease and non-communicable. So when we are talking about the communicable disease, means we are saying the disease can be transferred from infected person to healthy person. So this is only because of this microorganisms that can be transfer the disease or that can be cause the disease to the human beings. And we have seen the examples of symptoms like sneezing. So when somebody is sneezing, so it is just releasing the small droplets of the water into the air, and that droplets of the water having so many viruses, because it is because it is microorganisms, so it can be present in so much quantity into that small droplets of the water. And when some healthy person is breathing into that environment, into that air, so that droplets with microorganisms can be entered into the healthy person, and it can be cause disease to the healthy person also. So the virus may enter in the body of the healthy person through the breathing. So that is why it is called communicable diseases. We have seen also some other agents which is called carriers. And what is mean by carriers? So some organisms or some insects or some organisms like flies or insects which can be carries the pathogens, the germs which is can be cause the disease to the healthy person, and this is transferred. So actually these are the carriers. These are fly, house fly. Normally house flies, so much amount of the carriers can be, or the germs can be carried with house fly, and whenever they are just sitting onto the some dirt and some dirty things, so it can be just having all the germs can be stuck to their bodies, and when they are sitting onto the food which is kept open, so it can be just transfer, or it can be carry the disease from that dirty places to our food, and when somebody is eating that food, it is having that disease. Or sometimes the female anopheles mosquito we have also seen. So their female anopheles mosquito is carries the germs that can be having the disease like dengue or malaria. So they are spreading the malaria or dengue. So that is why this is also we can say these are the carriers, or which can carry the disease causing germs. So that is why it is called a carriers of the diseases. Then we have seen this table. On this table what we have discussed, that some diseases or human diseases which is caused by which kind of the microorganism, from bacteria, virus or algae, or how it can be transferred from one person to another person, or from one place to another place. Then we have seen the preventive measures. Okay, so how can we avoid these diseases, we have seen. So this table also we have seen in our last lecture. Then now we will start this session with this disease causing microorganisms in animals. So up to here we have seen so many points. So now we will see the disease causing organism in animals, so many animals. Up to here we have seen the organism which is useful into the, or which is causing disease to the human beings only. Now we will talk about the other animals or plant. So several microorganisms not only cause disease in human and plants, but also in other animals. So here we will see what about the disease which can be caused with the organisms to other animals or some other plant. And here the Robert Koch, that is in 1876, discovered the bacterium, that is Bacillus anthracis, so which cause anthrax disease. That is actually the name of the disease, that is called anthrax, and which is caused by this microorganism. The name is Bacillus anthracis. So like this microorganisms are there which can be cause the disease to other plant and animals also. So for example, we have taken the example of anthrax. So anthrax is a dangerous for human as well as cattle. So this is disease can be taken example which can be cause problems in human as well as cattle. So the name of this germ, that is called anthrax. So that anthrax disease can be happen to both, to the human beings or to the animals like cattle. So it is caused by bacterium, and foot and mouth diseases of the cattle is caused by this virus. So like this virus can be cause the diseases like foot diseases and mouth diseases in so many animals like cattle. So like this we will discuss in this lecture. Diseases causing microorganisms in plant. So which organisms are causing the disease, especially in plant, because as we have seen so many diseases will be happening into the plants, and farmers are using some insecticides and pesticides, because if the disease will happen to the plant, so it will affect the yield of the plant. So disease causing microorganisms, several microorganisms cause disease in plants like wheat, rice, potato, sugarcane, orange, apple and other, so many examples we have. So some organisms can causing the disease in this kind of the plants. So disease reduce the yield of the crop. What will happen if the plant having the disease? So they will reduce the yield of the plant. And now what is mean by the yield of the crop? Yield means what amount of the food we are taking from per hectare, means from 1 hectare we are having 1 quintal of wheats or grains. So if it is 1 quintal, this is the yield of that area of that plant. So if the disease having on the plants, so it will reduce the production of the grains or food whatever it is producing from the plants. So it is reducing the yield, and that is not good for us, because we are doing this all for getting more and more yield. Some more such plant diseases will be also there. What we'll discuss in table 2.2 on the next page. So they can be controlled, and we can also control these diseases by using some chemicals, or we are telling that insecticides So here the table 2.2, it is mentioned here the common plant diseases caused by the microorganisms. So in this table we will just discuss some diseases which can be caused the disease to some plants. So how we can we control it. So number one, we will just start with the plant disease citrus scanner. So here the name of the disease is called citrus scanner, and how it is caused, which kind of the microorganisms. So it can be caused by the help with the bacteria only. So these are bacteria which can be caused the disease called citrus scanner. And next table will show you mode of transmission and how can be disease causing germs will transfer from one plant to another plant. Like we have seen the communicable diseases, the diseases which is transferring from one person to another person. So here the mode of transmission, air. So this disease citrus scanner, so bacteria of this disease can be travel from one plant to another plant with the help of air. So here air is a mode of transmission, and this is the figure how this affecting to the plant. Next disease, we can be see that rust of wheat. So rust of wheat is the name of disease in the plant, and how it can be happen, it is caused by a fungi. So fungi will cause the disease. How it can be transferred from air or seeds. So with the help of air also it can be transferred, or with the help of seeds if we are using the infected seeds with the rust of wheat disease. So the next generation will also having this kind of the disease. So with the help of the seeds also, like this disease can be transferred from one plant to another plant. And in the last it is giving the picture for the disease how it is happening into the wheat plant. So this is the outer covering of the wheat barley, and it is having the disease on and it's look like rust. So that is why it is said rust of canner. So that is why it is showing the texture like rust onto the wheat. Now the next one we will see yellow vein mosaic of bhendi or okra. So it is why it is called yellow veins, we will see here. It is caused by the virus only. Viruses will responsible to cause this kind of the diseases, and it can be transferred from one plant to another plant with the help of insects, right? Or in the next we can be see the diagram of the leaves of the plant of okra plant or bhendi plant. So you can see the plant's leaf will just convert into yellow color. So the normal green leaf will convert into the yellowish color. So that is why the disease also named yellow vein mosaic of bhendi or okra. So these diseases, whatever diseases we have discussed, and in this table we can be see here the name of the diseases, how it can be transferred from one plant to another plant, and these all the diseases we have seen especially for plant only. In the plant, which kind of the diseases, how it can be transferred, and who will cause the disease, bacteria, fungi or virus. So and how it can be controlled. It can be controlled by using of certain chemicals which kill the microbes. So if you want to avoid the disease, or if you want to control the plants growth by reducing this kind of the diseases, so we have to use, definitely we have to use certain chemicals which can also spread onto the plants, or which can be have the ability to just reduce the amount of this kind of the bacteria or fungi or viruses. So it is useful, and so many kind of the chemicals we are present in our field that farmers are using, right, already. So whatever the points we have discussed up to here, that is all related to the disease which is caused into the plant only, right. And again I just want to remind you this diseases which is spreading here. So the farmers is using certain chemicals which is very harmful. They are having some adverse effect onto the plant also in some but mostly it is affecting to the bacteria or fungi which is causing the disease to the plants. So that is why it is harmful. So farmers also have to be do some preventive actions. So into that preventive action, the farmer have to be cover their mouth and nose, because this chemicals, while we are spreading onto the plant, it can be cause certain problems into the human beings also. So that is why whenever, and again we have to follow some guidelines that is mentioned onto the chemical what we are using. So that means what amount of the chemicals we have to use, and after what intervals we have to use these chemicals, and which chemical is useful for which kind of the plant. So many guidelines are given over there. So all the guidelines we have to be follow, and then only we can be have the effect on to this disease causing germs, and which can be reduce, and we can be improve our yield quality, our plant yield quality. So this kind of the things we have to just keep in our mind. So in this lesson or in this chapter, whatever things we have covered, just do remind this one more time, and remaining point that we'll discuss in our next lecture. So in our next lecture we'll hopefully will complete this lesson. So up to that, just read or see this video for one more time or two times to clear your doubts. Write down the name of the bacterias, or learn this table also, which is helpful to you, right? So remaining points we will discuss in our next lecture. Up to that, take care.